The reason this is a great day, as you all know, we've gone through some very difficult economic times over these past number of years. The worst economic times in Utah's history since the Great Depression. We all refer to it across this country as the Great Recession. We have great news today as we look at our private sector and the work that they've been doing and trying to dig out of that significant hole. This morning, the Department of Workforce Services got the new numbers and released the latest reports, and those numbers show us today that our unemployment rate has dropped down to 3.9%. To put that in perspective, it's been over 5 years. You'd have to go back to November of 2008 to find a time when we were below 4% unemployment rate. So the number of 3.9% is somewhat of a milestone for us that says that we are kind of back from the recession. We're back to where we kind of once were before. And it means that there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about our future. We're on track to have 2014 to be a very successful year economically in the state of Utah. So again, I think that's just great news for all of us and something that we can in fact use and build upon. It is of note to me that our unemployment rate has been cut in half since I've been the governor. Now, again, that's because of the work of so many people out there. We understand that we've created a business environment that's the best in America. It's referred to as the best and most business-friendly environment in America. So that means for the wealth creators, the entrepreneurs, the business people, those who actually go out there and create jobs, it's happening in Utah in a significant way, better than virtually any place across America today. And I want to thank those who are out there in the trenches making it happen, those investors, those entrepreneurs, those business people, those wealth creators who are creating wealth and by doing so create jobs for the rest of us. Our national employment, by the way, the same numbers, which was at 6.6, is now ticked up to 6.7. So the national employment rate just ticked up while ours is dropped down. So we're nearly 3% below the national average right now with our unemployment rates here in the great state of Utah. Our growth rate is now about 2.8%. It's almost to our historic norms, which is around 3.2%. So we still have some work to go, but our goal of 100,000 jobs in 1,000 days is literally coming to pass before our eyes. We're on track to make that. We've created over 70,000 jobs to date, and we'll be creating more as we go through 2014. I would suggest to us all that the success that we receive is because of adherence to basic principles, creating this environment that is conducive to helping the private sector business people to be successful. We have reduced our tax rates. We've flattened out the rates. We have a good competitive tax rate here in Utah, not only competitive around the nation, but it's competitive here in the Intermountain West, which is a little more challenging because we have states that have some pretty low rates here in the Intermountain West. So we have a competitive tax rate. We also have had regulation reform. The biggest issue I hear from the business people out there really that causes them concern is regulations and over-regulation that stifles their ability to be productive out there, that doesn't do one of two things. It doesn't level playing fields. It doesn't protect public. We have regulations that sometimes are just a drag on the economy. So I'm pleased and proud and grateful that we in Utah have had regulation reform to, again, make it more conducive for success in the private sector. Thirdly, we have prided ourselves on having a well-educated, well-skilled labor force. We have a young labor force. Our median age in Utah is about 29.2 years of age. We have a labor force that's productive. It's part of our culture. We are honest day's work for an honest day's pay. We have that work ethic here in Utah that stands out. I was with some entrepreneurs here just this past week, and they've talked about the labor force in Utah is the best of their worldwide organization as far as production, getting things done. So the fact that we're trying to raise the bar for education and skills, Our goal of 66 by 2020, having some kind of a requirement of post-high school education, to have 2/3 of our adult population have either a certificate, an associate degree, or a full degree, lends itself to having a skilled and educated labor force. The fact that we're bilingual in Utah, again, gives us some competitive advantage in what is now a global marketplace. And last but not least, we heard loud and strong when I was lieutenant governor about the importance of having infrastructure, meaning we have to have roads that get us around from point A to point B, that we cannot put up and tolerate too much congestion, that there needs to be some ability to have commerce move back and forth. And so the emphasis we've had over these last 4 or 5 years on transportation, making sure that our transportation system, not only roads and highways, but mass transit, our light rail, our heavy rail, all conducive to make sure we have an infrastructure that's conducive to success in the business world. And a part of that also is our efforts to make sure we have clean air and adequate water. And so again, our emphasis moving forward to make sure we have an environment that's conducive for people and business in what is now the second fastest growing state in America and the fourth most diverse economy. Again, this all bodes well for our future here in Utah, and I'm pleased with the successes that we're having, as exemplified by this low unemployment rate that we hear today. But we know we have some work to continue to do as we go forward. And so with that, I'll just say we won't take our eye off the ball. It really is about the economy. That's going to be our administration's continued number one focus. It's about the economy. And our emphasis is to make sure that Utah is the best performing economy in America is our goal, and that we will become known as a premier, if not the premier, global business destination in the world. Those are aspirational goals, but we see ourselves reaching and attaining those goals in this administration. So we're pleased and excited about what we've been able to accomplish, and know that we have more to do. With that, I'd like to take a few minutes, or give a few minutes to Scott Parsons of Staker Parsons Companies. Scott serves as chair of the largest business organization that we have here in the state of Utah, known as the Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce, a position that he's been involved with since 2010. And so we'd like to have Scott come forward and make a few remarks. Scott?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today's jobs announcement is great news for the state of Utah, and no one is happier about it than those of us who work in the private sector. In 2008, the Great Recession struck quickly, and it impacted all of our businesses across the state. As an employer of nearly 2,000 people, I know that we all had to look for ways to be more efficient and to focus on the fundamentals that build strong businesses. And the governor did the same thing as the chief executive of our state. I'm sure that the pressure to balance the state budget was significant, but the governor stayed true to sound principles that made Utah an economic leader in good times, and he helped guide us through some very challenging times. Even in difficult times, Utah has kept its focus on investing in those areas that bring the greatest return. Things like education, transportation, international business, energy, keeping business costs low, statewide corporate recruitment, tax policy, air quality, and rural development. Governor Herbert has kept us moving forward in these key areas, and the results show up again and again in our economic data. Utah truly is the best place to do business, and as a business community, we look forward to continuing to build on our success. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Well, thank you again. This is really a great day, and it's great news for all of us as we go forward into 2014 and the challenges we face. And as I said many times before, if we focus on the economy, I think we're going to get good results in other areas too. It's pretty tough to fund education. It's pretty tough to fund roads and transportation. Pretty tough to fund health and human services if you don't have a healthy economy. So if we keep our eye on the ball and focus on it's the economy, other things will fall into place, I think, in ways that we all can feel good about here in Utah. So again, I'm pleased to see the success we're having, dropping to 3.9%. The first time it's happened below 4% in over 5 years is great news. That being said, I'm concerned about those who are still unemployed. And I won't rest, I won't be happy until anybody who wants a job can have a job. And the fact that we still have people out there that are unemployed that are working is still troublesome to me. And so in spite of the good news, I kind of temper that a little bit by knowing that there are people out there that still are looking for jobs. But again, this is good news. We're on the right road. We're going in the right direction. And I expect that we'll reach the goals that we've set for ourselves here as we move forward through 2014 into 2015.